Hi everyone. My name is Ranjitha and I've been mentoring with Magic for this is my second year, and I work with Meghana and it has been amazing. It has been great fun. This girl, she's so fast. She's so quick at grasping new things. I literally had to do very little work to get her to do anything. And I think my most favorite part about Meghna is her creativity. She's like, whenever there was any roadblock we came across, she would very creatively think out of the box and come up with a new solution, or come up with new designs for the problem, for the project. And it was really really rewarding to be working with her. And good luck, Meghna.
So, my mentor is Ranjitha Kulkarni, and she works at Microsoft in speech recognition, and she's a Carnegie Mellon University graduate. She likes robotics, painting, interior design, and music. She plays with tabla. So, for this project, we're going to be working with Sphero, and Sphero is a color-changing, spherical rolling robot. Our project is an app that can be used to make Sphero move in different shapes and change colors with the press of a button. My magical experience. So the first thing we did was our Xcode. And in our Xcode is a website that can take you through a tutorial a coding tutorial that lasts for about an hour. And in our code, we experimented with JavaScript, and we coded through a game. And the fun part was coding a game because it was new and interesting. Next, we did Sphero Edu, and Sphero Edu is an app that can get you more familiar with coding for Sphero, the robot we're using. And in Sphero Edu, I followed some tutorials on basically how to make Sphero talk, and that's the first time I experimented with Sphero drawing a shape. And I also made a game called the Catch Game that when you throw Sphero, he'll make an animal noise.
Meghana, do you want to show them?
Oh.
Do you have a picture?
I had a picture earlier. So next I did Swift Playgrounds, and Swift Playgrounds is another app that can get you more familiar with the language Swift, which we'll be using in the app. And in Swift Playgrounds, I programmed a blob character through an obstacle course, and the fun part was winning the obstacle course and the animations that came with it. And then I went on to Xcode, and Xcode is the program that we use to develop our final app. And in Xcode, I followed more tutorials on how to code Sphero, but this time in the language Swift. And Xcode was pretty challenging and complicated because the languages we were using, Swift and Objective-C, they had more aspects than what I'm used to because I'm used to coding in Scratch. And we also used RobotKit framework, which can link Sphero to the app we're making. And then I moved on to Scratch because, as I said, Xcode was a bit complicated. So I decided to make a simulator for the final app, and that was a good design exercise, and I learned more about variables and functions. And if you want to see my Scratch project, it'll be at my table. Then I went on to my actual app development. And during app development, I used sample code to use and copy and paste into my final app for to drive Sphero forward, or basic things like changing colors. And then I experimented with the robot kit that I'm using, so more experimenting with Sphero driving forward and changing colors. And then I implemented my design from scratch into my app. And then finally I got feedback. So my testers told me to make my app more user-friendly, which means making the buttons clearer and fixing minor bugs, and making shapes that Sphero was moving in bigger or smaller, and also implementing stop, which means you can make Sphero stop in the middle of drawing a shape. So along with the fun part of coding, there were also a lot of challenges. One of the big challenges was saving my progress in Sphero Edu. So in Sphero Edu, I wrote a lot of code and made a lot of interesting things, but for some reason the saving was not working. So every time I opened the app again, I had to remake the thing and then remake it. And so I fixed that I worked around it by taking a screenshot of the code and then remaking it again, but I didn't have to remember what I wrote. So another thing was Swift, the language we were initially planning to use, not compatible with the RobotKit framework. So we wanted to use an older version of Swift because that would be compatible with RobotKit, but that wasn't accessible for us. And the newer version of Swift just didn't work with that. So we had to use Objective-C, which is another language. And in Objective-C, we faced a lot of problems, like dealing with macros. And macros are something that make it so you have to write each line of code for one simple step. So for drawing a square, we had to write 32 lines of code, and opposed to without macros, it would only be 4 or 5 lines. And after we worked around that, we had to still get Xcode build settings to work, which meant transferring the app from the computer to your phone. And there was a lot of trial and error put into that, and finally we got it to work. So my takeaway from this project was I learned how to code with robots and make an app, and my dad already wants me to make another app to code lights. And I also learned that I love designing, and in the future I want to implement voice control and learn how to do voice control. And so my demo is my app in action, and I'll also be showing my Scratch simulator at my table. Thank you.